Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're joining us from. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. The very first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and share my screen with you and point out some things that might be helpful. First thing I'd like to point out is we have a Facebook group that coincides with our meetup group, and it has exactly the same name. It's live Law of Attraction, Money, Wealth, and Success Training. So what you do is you go to your own Facebook account, type in live Law of Attraction, Money, Wealth, and Success Training into where it says search Facebook, and come find us and join us. The other way you can come find us and join us is to go directly to facebook.com/groups/money manifesting coach as one word. Again, you can go directly to facebook.com/groups/money manifesting coach as one word. So why would you want to join us? Well, first of all, as long as I remember to hit the record button, which I typically do, we record these Zoom meetings, and within 24 to 48 hours, you go in the group and they will be posted here for you to review. So let's say you're here today and you like what's said and you decide you want to review some of it. You can come back within 24, 48 hours typically and do that. The other reason could be maybe we're going through some material and it's taking a couple, 2, 3, 4 days or a week or two, just depends on what we're going through. We're going through something and you missed a day and you want to get caught up, again, the recordings will be here and you can get caught up. Okay, next thing I want to point out, we finished up yesterday a piece of work and we're going today to hop in another one. We're going to actually go into a book that explains not just the law of attraction, but all the laws that govern manifesting more money and wealth in your life. Okay. This book is called Hidden Treasures. It is written by an author by the name of Leslie Householder. Let me scroll down a little bit here. This is Leslie right here. I'll give you a little background on this in a moment, but first thing I want to go ahead and do is actually share with you how you can get your own free copy. Okay. How I got mine. I actually own it in paperback. Let's see, Hidden Treasures. Yeah. I own it on Audible. I own it on Kindle. And I believe that this is a phenomenal book for helping you understand, again, not just the law of attraction, which is a secondary law, but all the laws that you need to understand in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life. Okay. So what I did is I went to Google and I typed in Leslie Householder Hidden Treasures PDF. Again, I typed in Leslie Householder Hidden Treasures PDF. By the way, if you're at your computer right now, I highly recommend you do the same thing so I can show you where to get this, okay? So when that happened, I typed it in. What came up at the very top is this website right here. It says hiddentreasuresbook.com. Now, this is a book that Leslie originally sold, but I actually convinced her years ago, not this specific one, but another one. She's the best-selling author of more than one book. I convinced her to put one of hers online for free to help build her sphere of influence. And it worked out so well, a few years later, she decided to put this book up on her website for free after she'd written some other things. So if you go to hiddentreasuresbook.com and click on it, you will find it will take you here to a website. And then what you do is if you scroll down just a little ways, you can read, get kind of a little background on Leslie's story. But if you go click here for your free download, I'm not going to go ahead and click that one. What it's going to do is going to take you to a page that she's going to ask for your name and email, and then it'll give you a download. Okay. When you download it, you can, of course, save it to your computer if you like. Just use your download function, your laptop, your tablet, your phone, whatever. And you can have the same copy we're going to be using. And we're going to be going through this for the next, I don't know, week or two, approximately, to get through this. As you can see, it's a little bit longer than what we went through last time. It's going to go very in depth on how the laws of the universe function in relationship to manifesting money and wealth in your life. And Leslie's a good friend of mine. When I met her originally, she was a coach and facilitator for Bob Proctor, and she coached and facilitated Bob Proctor's programs. She's the one that was teaching and coaching on the Science of Getting Rich that I went through and where I had my breakthroughs. And then just like herself, actually just a couple years ago, Bob Proctor's organization reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to coach their programs, and I accepted that. Leslie's been independent now for several years, and I've become independent in the last year and a half. I got trained up for about 6 months or so, and have been on my own ever since. Not because there's anything wrong with Bob or the organization. They're phenomenal. I'm still in touch. I still actually have mastermind with people within his organization, and they do with me, and I love them. We just all have a little bit different style. And so I just felt the nudge intuitively that I needed to go with what I'm doing now. But anyhow, this book, again, will help you understand all of the laws instead of just some of the laws that are going to help you manifest more money and wealth in your life. So I highly recommend you go get your own copy of it and that you follow along. I highly recommend that you're with us every day if possible. And I'm not going to take as much of an introduction each day as I am now. Some of you guys are showing up now late. Believe it or not, we were supposed to start at 10 o'clock, my time. And the first person didn't even show up till after 10 o'clock. I almost didn't do this. I would like you to show up a few minutes early. You're like, well, you just repeat the same thing. Here is why. When people show up to something and nobody else shows up, what happens is they think that they're the only bozo that showed up. Why am I here and nobody else is here? You guys are waiting because you're waiting for me to get through the first 3 to 5 minutes because you've heard it before. I want to ask a favor of you. I want you to show up 1 minute early, okay? Or 2 minutes early, because some people come early and they're brand new. And again, they look around and go, I'm the only person here. And sometimes they leave because they think, well, this can't be any good if it's one person. So if I'm going to take the time to help you guys progress and share with you how things work, I would ask you to do me that favor, unless it's not possible. If you're getting out of something and you can't log on right at 10 o'clock, that's California time, whatever it is your time, then, log on as soon as you can. I'm not telling you not to come. I'm just asking you for a helpful favor, okay? Because I want new people to see that other people are here so that they don't think that they just logged into something that is not going to be useful or helpful to them. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start this book. As normal, we'll save some time at the end for our interaction for you guys to share and comment what you would like to and ask whatever questions you would like to. Let me come down a little ways here. It's essentially on page 4 that we'll start reading. Table of contents. So we're probably going to get through the introduction today, maybe. We'll see. Maybe a few basic questions. I don't know that we'll get a lot further than that. We'll get all about the laws soon. But as you can see here, there's actually 7, not just law of attraction. And law of attraction actually falls under the law of vibration, by the way, is a subsidiary law. There are 7 laws that govern you receiving what you want, plus a bonus vacuum law. So there's essentially 8. The bonus is a way to supercharge what you're trying to do when you're wanting to manifest more. And then there's a challenge for you, and there's even some work that you can do towards the end of this. So again, go download it, get a copy for yourself, and take full advantage of what you can, okay? All right, introduction. Information you should know if you want the rest of the book to make sense. The following book is a companion to the modern day allegory, The Jackrabbit Factor, Why You Can. And that was Leslie's first, that's her first bestseller that she had, okay? This book, Hidden Treasures, I think was written previously. Jackrabbit Factor went high on the Amazon list, And then more people found out about Hidden Treasures later. But anyhow, great book. I recommend that you read that also, but that's not one we're going to go through together, very likely. Okay, the following book is a companion to my modern day allegory, The Jackrabbit Factor, Why You Can. While the Jackrabbit story is a fictional introduction to the laws of thought, Hidden Treasures intends to answer, in a nonfiction format, the question, why does it work? Each book effectively stands alone, although they complement each other. Together, they help the reader internalize the laws of thought related to prosperity. While the Jackrabbit Factor was designed to be useful to any person who believes in a higher power, I get personal in Hidden Treasures by touching on some of my personal religious beliefs regarding faith, which have helped me overcome certain challenges along the way. I write to those with an uninhibited hunger for understanding. Of course, I expect anyone to scrutinize a philosophy and measure it against what feels right to him or her. The references I've selected teach principles which I believe will be in harmony with the beliefs of any God-fearing, aka spiritually minded person, no matter what their religious background may be. I've written this book with profound gratitude to God for allowing me to suffer years of financial lack and endure the negative effects of depression. Though I felt abandoned at the time, I can see that He had everything under control all along. It caused me to seek and eventually find some powerful answers to some of life's most perplexing questions. Without the experiences that took me through extreme bitterness and despair, I never would have been so driven to search for the answers I'm presenting here. My bitterness has been replaced with gratitude, my despair with hope, my depression with joy, my stress with peace, and the poverty has been replaced with abundance. I'm compelled now to share what I've learned because I know I'm not the only one who's to struggle with finances. Bob Proctor is the man responsible for introducing me to many of the ideas contained in this book. He is a world-renowned speaker, best-selling author, and founder of Life Success Productions. Although he isn't a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he has been known to quote a Mormon verse in his presentation. He says, and I agree, that the following one passage beautifully sums up the foundational idea behind the principles of prosperity you will find in this book. The verse reads, "There is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven before the foundations of this world, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to that law upon which it is predicated." While the interpretation and application of scriptures and ideas here are my own and do not necessarily represent the beliefs or doctrine of any particular denomination, you'll find the principles contained in this book to be universal. Most of my life, I wanted to be obedient to God's laws as I understood them, for I believed that to do so was the only way to true happiness. I also believed the best way to be righteous was to live a meager life so that I would remain forever humble, an attribute necessary for salvation. After all, a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. I also believed it was evil to desire riches, and I was certain that the richer a person was, the more miserable they must become sooner or later. However, after I married and started a family, I wrestled with a dilemma similar to the one experienced by Adam from the Garden of Eden, which I call the Adam Dichotomy. God gave Adam two commandments: don't eat the forbidden fruit, and multiply and replenish the earth. But when Eve partook of the forbidden fruit and was cast out of the garden, Adam had a difficult choice. He could righteously refuse the fruit, but fail to replenish the earth, or he could replenish the earth only after following Eve's forbidden action. Either way, he would be ruining a perfect track record. While I felt guilty for coveting the riches of the world, like desiring forbidden fruit, I wanted them simply to help me keep two other commandments: thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not bear false witness. The way I saw it, if I didn't pay my bills in full and on time, I was not only robbing the other party of their just dues, but I had made a promise in a contract that I was not keeping. My integrity, or in other words, my honesty, was on the line. Furthermore, I now view the Old Testament commandment to multiply and replenish the earth in more than one way. To me, it's not just a literal directive to have children, but also a symbolic instruction to take whatever I've been blessed with and multiply it to demonstrate good stewardship. I believe God would have his children strive to multiply what little resources they may have so that they can live a more abundant life and serve him with more dedication and focus. In a sense, then, I partook of the forbidden fruit, sought riches, so that I might multiply my talents and be a better servant of the Lord. After all, I thought how much good I could do for the Lord if I was not so self absorbed with my needs all the time. I heard it said, money isn't evil, it just makes you more of what you already are. If you're good, then with money, you can do more good. If you're evil, then we don't want it in your hands. I finally decided that it was probably okay to seek riches against my conscience rather than resign myself to the smothering prison of debt and the stain of poor credit. However, obtaining riches was not as easy as I thought it would be. Somehow I believed that if I were just righteous enough, God would prosper me, not spiritually, but financially as well. I went to church each week, or not just spiritually, but financially as well. I went to church each week. I prayed daily. I donated my time to teaching children and teenagers on Sunday. I fed missionaries who were far from home and needing a meal, even though the meal was never fancy. I babysat for free to give weary mothers like me a break. I paid an honest tithing, and I suffered from depression. Focusing on the needs of others was supposed to bring me joy, but no matter how much I tried to do what was right, I keenly felt the weight of our financial burdens nearly every moment of the day. I felt a growing affinity to the children of Israel who begged for deliverance from their slavery in Egypt. But where was my Moses sent to deliver me? My husband and I ventured into a few money-making ideas, and we personally kept the self-help industry in business, or so it felt. The way I remember it, we sacrificed anything we could in order to keep our bills paid and also feed our minds to learn how to succeed. I sold my wedding dress and a flute at a yard sale. I was so desperate for money that I actually sold my young women's medallion to a very excited middle-aged lady. I'm embarrassed to say that I hadn't realized it wasn't just a pendant that could be replaced at my local Deseret bookstore. Gratefully, years later, when I was asked to fill a position in the Young Women's Organization, my good bishop arranged to provide me with a replacement. I also remember traveling across the country to attend a seminar with no room on a credit card for the rental car and a can of corn in our backpack. I remember jumping at every opportunity to spend time with mentors, even if it had to be at 10 p.m., 2 hours from home. It didn't matter that we had to arrange for an overnight sitter, like the insomniac member of our congregation, and that it would mean returning in the early morning hours, just in time to clean office buildings as janitors and then go to work at our regular jobs. We invested in our education through motivational seminars, books, audios, and time with mentors regularly for about 7 years. Crazy? Maybe so. But simply put, we were hungry for insight. Through our study, it became clear that our attitude had everything to do with our success, but we still constantly fell back into our old thinking patterns, failing to pull out of our financial distress. While my husband remained committed to continual growth and learning, I eventually became jaded and weary from years of effort with hardly anything to show for it. Having decided to quit trying, I nevertheless consented to attend just one more seminar, which I determined would be my last. I decided to give up trying to change our lifestyle and just settle in, grateful for life the way it was, even in all its misery. I guess the Lord knew what was going on with me because he sent Bob Proctor to be the guest speaker. It was one of those experiences where I felt for a moment that the entire presentation was put together just for me. Bob had an amazing message. Partway through his presentation, my husband and I just looked at each other with our mouths wide open. Unlike many of the other seminars we attended, here was no hype. While enthusiasm is an effective way to get a person going, this one had a different effect on us. His message required no hype because it was just an unbelievably simple but powerful explanation of how the universe operates. The real reason for our financial bondage became absolutely clear, and I realized why God had not prospered us, nor would he prosper us until we began obeying his laws, specifically governing prosperity. I had been hoping for monetary blessings by relying on a few spiritual laws. I had reduced everything I had been taught down to one simple false philosophy: be good and you'll prosper, which is about as absurd as thinking that so long as you obey the speed limit, you can shoplift without consequence. Different laws have different consequences attached. I learned that if I wanted to prosper financially, I had to quit breaking the laws that govern prosperity. For one thing, I hadn't known they existed. And for another thing, I didn't know I was breaking them. As I learned the laws governing the abundant life, I gratefully discovered they are in perfect harmony with the commandments I've been raised to follow. I didn't have to face another Adam Dichotomy because I would not be required to break any commandments to live by these new to me laws of prosperity. In fact, as I followed them, my ability increased to live more completely the precepts of my faith. It was interesting to me that at the seminar, we were surrounded by people of other religions who were just as captivated and strengthened in their own faith as we were. It was enlightening and unifying. As you could guess, the first seminar with Bob Proctor wasn't my last seminar after all. We returned about 6 months later to hear him expound for 3 more days. And as we consciously began to live in harmony with the laws of prosperity, our monthly income tripled within 3 to 4 months, or 4 more months. By the end of the 4th month, we had also moved into a larger, more beautiful home in a safer neighborhood, turning our previous home into a rental, even though we had previously been going in the hole by several $100s a month. The change had been attained so easily, and the difference was so dramatic that I couldn't hardly sit still. Filled with a profound gratitude to God for our newfound knowledge, I had to share what I knew. So when Life Success Productions sent out a call for program facilitators, I jumped at the opportunity. The training cost us a small fortune, but by this time we had accumulated just that much in savings. For once, we were able to invest in ourselves on a cash basis. The training was mind-blowing, and living by the principles began to come more naturally with practice. As a result, I've been able to develop a quiet confidence that the Lord will always provide for my needs. I found my wings and developed a unique way of bringing this information to my niche audience outside of my association with Life Success Productions. Bottom line, I had always been taught over and over to fear not and trust God. But until I had a working knowledge of his laws connected with the blessing of prosperity, I didn't know how to have that kind of faith. Soon after becoming a program facilitator, I stumbled onto shelovesgod.com and responded to an article written by the founder, Mon-Fri, that began a conversation which eventually led me to share what I had learned with her. Marnie says, as a direct result of learning these laws, I've tripled my internet income, and my husband is retired from his day job to start his own personal chef business, which he's been dreaming about for years. To say the information is life-changing would be an understatement. Mon-Fri, author of Light the World, How Your Brilliance Can Shift the Planet, and founder of ignitepoint.com and shelovesgod.com. In 2002, at her request, I wrote a series of articles about these laws for her subscribers. Over time, that collection of articles was compiled and revised to become the book you hold in your hands. For more than a year, I presented the principles on the internet with exclusive reference to the King James Version of the Bible and just a few secular works as well as that supported the ideas. I saw an opportunity to take what I'd learned from Bob Proctor and bring it specifically to the Christian audience. Since his ideas were completely in harmony with my religious beliefs, it was an easy thing to put them in a spiritual context. Since then, I found other references from Mormon literature which offer additional witness for the prospective legitimacy of these principles. My first idea for the book was to gather all supporting literature from all major religions of the world for a landmark project that could improve the lives of all God-fearing people across the globe. The wider the market, the better, I was told. But in a way, that's what Bob was already doing. Besides, I realized that there is so much written about it, it would have been insane to try and pull off my original idea. The world is filled with this wisdom taught from so many angles. It is a wonder how I had been blind to it before. The principles governing prosperity may be some of the most fundamental doctrines to be shared by all major religious sects. After all, truth is truth, and truth seekers will cling to truth no matter where they find it. As a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a Mormon, I saw a pressing need among my friends and family to take these ideas and bring them together from my point of view. I was simply a mother of young children who wanted to stay home and raise her family, and who successfully applied the laws of thought to achieve a few of her objectives. You do not have to embrace my religion to see the principles of prosperity work for you. Simply put, God's power permeates the universe, and as we live in harmony with his laws connected to prosperity, we are blessed with the miracles of the abundant life. In fact, many people of all religions live in harmony with these laws unknowingly and thus prosper, not even understanding the real reason why. Anyway, the following information seems true to me. It has borne good fruit in my life, and I'm pleased to share a few of the good seeds with you now. So bring your faith, great or small, and let me see if I can help increase it. After you read this book, ask God in your own way whether or not the ideas presented meet his approval for your life. If you feel peace and joy, then you can know it's good. If you feel confusion and uncertainty, then trust whatever alternative guidance he provides. That process works for me and has yet to steer me wrong. Reason it out, draw your own conclusion, and then ask if your conclusion is accurate. But behold, I say unto you that you must study it out in your mind. Then you must ask me if it be right. And if it is right, I will cause that your bosom shall burn within you. Therefore you shall feel that it is right. But if it be not right, you shall have no such feeling. But you shall have a stupor of thought that shall cause you to forget the thing which is wrong. I just hope that you'll find within these pages a wider panoramic view of how the universe seems to operate, a perspective that leaves you feeling enlightened, empowered, and more faithful than ever. This is what it's done for me. So with mutual respect for our beliefs, whatever they may be, let's proceed. I'm eager to share the things I've discovered. Okay, so based on time right now today, we will go into page 10, a few basic questions. We'll start there tomorrow. Well, welcome, welcome. Looks like some more people joined us since we originally got started. Glad to have you all here with us. And let me explain what we're going to do right now. We are going to have the opportunity to share things with each other and ask questions. So I would like you guys to share what is appropriate to share. Well, anything in relationship to what it was that we've gone over today would be great. Maybe anything you thought of, maybe any connection you might feel to Leslie. You know, if what she's talking about mirrors some of the things about your life, which I have a feeling that it will mirror some of people's lives, you'll be able to actually relate to each other very well. So if that is something that you've come across as I read that, share your thoughts and feelings about that. Okay, what else is appropriate to share? Well, we just finished up yesterday a book called The Science of Getting Rich, which we spent about 3 weeks and a couple days on. Anything in relationship to what you learned through that, and or what you learned in our question and answer sessions for the last 3.5 weeks. A lot of you guys have asked questions, and then you've come back days later and said, hey, Kevin, you gave me some advice and I went out and did it, and here's my result. That type of stuff would be awesome to share. What else would be cool to share? Anything in relationship to manifesting, to actually have something you want, okay, that you've wanted, and you've gone through the process of manifesting it into your life successfully. That would be awesome to share too. Questions, what's appropriate? Well, anything in relationship to what we just went over today, anything in relationship to what we've done over in the past, and or any questions in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life, okay? So what we'll do at this point in time is you'll come off mute and you'll either start sharing what you want to share, or you'll start asking whatever questions you would like to ask. Now, here's what I recommend to everybody, okay? Please, let's use the time wisely. What do I mean? Let's not have a bunch of silent time. Some of you guys become shy from time to time about this. And the reason I say that is this is my profession. I originally went through Leslie's seminar back in February of 2006. By March, okay, beginning of February 2006, by March 31st, 2006, I quit my job, took a month's vacation, and from May 2006 first till December of 2006, the 31st, my work week went from 50, 60 hours a week down to 15 to 20 hours a week. Now that could sound like a tragedy, right? Uh-oh, he's not getting enough work. No, that's not what happened. Because my income went from $5,000 to $6,000 a month to where I was generating in business for myself an average of $50,000 a month, okay? So I'm sharing that with you because then now recently I've owned businesses, I've been a consultant, I've done a lot of things. The last couple of years, Bob's organization found out about me, found out some of the successes I had, and asked me to be a coach. And that's why I got trained like Leslie did so many years ago. This is all I've been doing for the last couple of years. And I've been doing it very successfully as far as my clients are concerned. They're happy with their results, haven't had complaints, haven't had refunds, haven't had anything like that. So use me, okay? I'm offering you my time now for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. So I recommend you take this time to share what you want to share and ask whatever questions you want to ask. So this is your opportunity, and now is your time to do that. Thank you.
Morning, Kevin.
Hey, Carl.
Just you reading, and I downloaded the book the moment you showed us how to get it. I went and got it. But when you're reading the introduction, and she's talking about all the things that she's done, that I think what she said was like 7 years of doing this, doing that. That really spoke to me because it just feels the same way. Like I've taken course here, taken course there, read this, read that. It just really spoke to me. Like it seems like that's how my life has been. Doing a course here, doing a course there, and reading this and reading that.
Yep, I did the same thing. I originally got the idea that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, not work for somebody else in 1996, actually 97. Read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Many of you probably heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, go get it. Okay, it's written by Robert Kiyosaki. And originally, actually, it says Robert Kiyosaki, co-written by Sharon Lechter. That part's been removed now, but Sharon Lechter essentially wrote the book telling Robert's story, okay? I read that, and that's where I got the idea. And then I started down a path, kind of like what you just said, Carl, kind of on and off for years of learning about entrepreneurship, learning about investing, and taking some action, but not having any great results, okay? Well, it took me all the way till February of 2006. So we're talking 9 years to actually come across the information I actually needed. Taking all these courses on how to be successful as an entrepreneur, how to be successful as a real estate investor, how to be successful as a stock trader, a day trader, how to successfully do all these different things. Those courses are useful, Possibly, okay? They're not useless. However, if we're stuck at a subconscious level and we're breaking the laws of the universe that govern receiving more money and wealth in our life, and we don't even know it, we could be doing what we think is the right stuff and following the training, but we will never get the results that the person who is trying to train us has gotten. That you're looking at them or even other people sometimes, and you're like, am I the only person out here that's trying this hard, that's getting nothing or practically nothing? But it wasn't the 3-day seminar. The 3-day seminar was the start, kind of like what Leslie talked about. She had kind of an introduction to Bob, and then they went to a 3-day seminar around the science of getting rich. By the way, I know that because Leslie and I are friends. We've become close to each other since that time. Leslie and Trevin went to a 3-day seminar, and then that was enough to help them triple their income, which it wasn't this huge income in the first place, but it was triple their income in 3 to 4 months. Well, then back then they didn't have a lot of coaches for Bob. And so they essentially said, anybody who wants to coach, if you'll pay this money, we'll train you. They got that additional training. Well, you don't know much more of the story. You'll get some of it from this book, but then their life even significantly jumped more because they were getting more coaching and training and they were more involved in what was going on. Well, that's what you guys need too. You just don't know it. Okay. I didn't know it. I wasn't looking for that. But what happened is once I got that additional help, the stuff I'd learned before about entrepreneurship and investing and everything else started to actually work. So the knowledge that you've got, Carl, here's the good thing. All the stuff you put into your head so far is still useful. Once you unlock this part of it and you get your subconscious reprogrammed, all of that stuff will start to work for you if that's the path you choose to go down for whatever you've been studying or training for. That's exactly what happened for me. That's what happens for a lot of people. And there are more people out there. There's 2 types of people in the world that are trying to manifest their life. There's actually the type of group that finds kind of what we're talking about first, law of attraction and stuff, but they have no business acumen. They have no training on being an entrepreneur, investor, anything like that. So they're going off, trying to manifest, but when they're getting kind of that jolt or that inspiration, revelation, intuition from God that says, hey, go down this path of business or take this course or whatever, they won't go do those things to train them on the how to. But in order to truly succeed with this, you need the how-to side, but the how-to side comes way more easily when the mindset and obeying the laws of the universe is correct, because you're not putting up roadblocks against yourself, which is predominantly in your subconscious mind. So everything that you've done up to this point that may have felt like it wasn't doing much for you, when you get that additional help, it will all break through for you. And you'll be amazed, because usually those are the people that have the fastest transformations, because a lot of times they've already been trained to do multiple things. That might not even be the thing you end up doing, but it's just, it was already, you were in the process of wanting to grow, and you've gained knowledge, and now that knowledge is going to be useful because your subconscious mind will no longer sabotage you.
Kevin, because I know you have a coaching program, can you talk about your coaching program?
Sure. Well, would you do me a favor, Carl?
Sure.
Because I want to respect, there are people here obviously for free. Let me give you my email address, and then leave me your phone number. I'll give you a quick phone call.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, this is for anybody. You can take my email down. Just don't spam me, please. Okay. It's not here for you to present opportunities to me or whatever. If you want to discuss, possibly coaching or some of the programs I do, then we could do that. But it's Coach, and then my first and last name, Coach Kevin Sparks @gmail. Yeah, Carl, just send me a message. I want to respect people's time on here because of what they came for. But I'd love to have a conversation about that. And if it suits you and fits you and you want to, terrific. And if not, that's okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. So any other comments or questions? I'm sure there's got to be
Hi,
something.
Kevin. It's Jackrabbit How are you today?
Terrific. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I missed Monday, and I went to your Facebook group, and it wasn't uploaded
It's
yet. So
yeah,
I'm so
it will be later today.
okay. Cool. I have a quick question. Have we gone over reprogramming our subconscious mind? Because I just have this feeling that that's where I'm stuck because of like my parents. Now that I'm shifting my mindset and working on that,
Uh-huh.
um I see how much their mindset has affected me as far as like money goes.
Hmm.
And so I think that's where I'm at. And I just know that I think that's where I'm getting stuck in this process. So have we talked about that?
So I didn't just no. I mean, yes and no. Okay. I haven't gone through it the same way. So there's a method to my madness here. Okay.
Okay.
Um, I started with the science of getting rich because the first thing you really have to decide in order to be successful anyway is what you want your life to be like. And I'm gonna say that until you guys are like, shut up, Kevin. You said that 8 million times. Because that is where every person I've coached has had their success come from, is becoming clear on that. And also because they were able to then create around what they want life to be like, a business or a job or an opportunity or multiple that allowed them to live that life. A lot of people try and start a business of some sort for money, and they create something that doesn't give them the life they want. Sometimes they end up with a lot of money, sometimes, not always. um, but they don't end up with the life they want to match the money, right? So
Okay.
if you decide on the life you want, nothing says it has to take 40 hours a week to make $1 million a year,
Hmm.
other than programming. And most people's programming, if they're already working hard and they make $150,000 a year and they're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, their brain goes, $1 million is never going to happen because I'm never going to work that hard. Well, you never really have to. You don't even have to work as hard as you are for what
Hmm.
you're getting. So there's different things, but we're going through this. Now we're learning the laws. The next thing we're going to go through is a book. You can get it early if you want and start going through it. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
Okay.
Okay. That'll talk about that. Again, though, what I want to emphasize, I'm not trying to be like, I don't know what the word is for it. I'm not holding anything back from you, but the books and the training and the seminars are all phenomenal when I've received that information. But the thing that was always missing was somebody there that they didn't have to be there like 24/7, 365 to help me. I needed somebody though who was there that I could talk to on a regular weekly basis. And also that even if it wasn't the time for us to normally talk, I could send a quick text or something and I knew I had their ear for a moment to just get through something. It took that person, and for me, I got some of that from Leslie, because the relationship I developed, because I found out that she actually lived in the city I lived in, and she was only 3 miles away from where I was living, and our families are very similar in age and just everything. So we became close. So she kind of helped coach and mentor me through some additional stuff. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gone as far as I did. And so, what everybody wants to avoid, but it's the fastest way to get you to where you want to, is to get somebody that you can interact with on a regular basis, and say coach, to do that. But most people are like, yeah, but I got to pay more money for that. Okay, yeah, yes, you do. But I would
Hmm.
rather pay $5,000 for group coaching and get to $100,000 in less than a year than read every book on the planet for the next 3 years, 10 seminars, spend probably almost as much money, time, and effort. And it takes me 3 or 4 years to get to 100,000. And
You're
I'm
right.
not saying any of that is how long it takes you, but that's essentially why every professional out there also gets a coach. LeBron James plays basketball better than his coach, but he still has one. Tiger Woods plays golf better than his coach, but he still has one. So, because the coach is there to see what you're missing and to remind you of what you already know and to keep you on the path when your subconscious mind is telling you bullcrap, because your subconscious mind is going to try and get in your way. So I'm glad you're here and you can go through this. And there have been people, I'm going through a process. It's going to take 2 or 3 months, and you will have the foundation. You'll have the tools. You'll have the right books and things like that to help you do this. But if I turn around and look at people that went through it last time that have had some results, none of them have multiplied their income 2, 3, 4, 5 times. But the people I've been coaching have. So
Right.
you'll know what to do, but your
Okay.
subconscious mind will fight you in doing it. And I'm here to help you win when your subconscious mind fights you.
Okay. That sounds good.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Or did I scare everybody, or did we about coaching? You don't have to coach with me. Okay. That's not the whole point. I'm just saying some of you guys are at a point in your life where you're like, you know what, enough is enough, right? Been there, done that. How much longer is it going to take? I just want to, and when I say shortcut, that doesn't mean you shortcut the steps of manifestation. I don't control that. Laws of the universe control that. You can't shortcut obedience to the laws, but they're not actually that hard to obey. They're actually pretty simple. Once you understand them, you're like, oh, that's not hard. And it's getting your subconscious to align and agree with what you've now learned to do so that you will actually do it and have the success. So there's a learning and an understanding what's going on. And when you have somebody to help you become aware, and again, that you have regular contact with, not just, for 5 minutes, I put myself out there even in a group situation where even if you were in a group coaching situation, you could, I'm not saying you have to, but you would actually have potential access to me for about 6 hours a week if you wanted to take all the time I make available. What I do is I take a morning of a particular day, and currently right now, Tuesday morning, people are with me for an hour and a half. I tell them to be with me once a week, but I allow them to be with me as much as I'm there. So I make myself available to the group. People show up Tuesday morning, not all of them, some do. And then Tuesday night, I do it again. Same essential material, but it's our question, answers, and coaching that is always going to be different, the discussion. And some of the people that are there Monday morning, they come back Monday night. And then I do it again, or it's not Monday, Tuesday. Then I do it again Wednesday. And then they come back Wednesday. Some people actually attend all 4. Over half of the people that I coach, because I make that open to them, they attend at least twice. Not because I tell them they should, they don't have to, but because I make myself available. Why do I make myself available 4 times? Well, so that your schedule hopefully doesn't get in the way. But even if it does, we record all of it too. So that probably gives, I probably told a little bit about coaching for group. I do one-on-one also. It's more money. And I actually don't do much of it. It used to be the only thing I did. But I found that I'm at about 98, 97% as successful and as efficient with the group coaching I'm doing now as I was with one-on-one. And I can help a lot more people at the same time. Besides one-on-one coaching with me, you're going to pay $20,000 or more for 6 months. Group coaching with me, you're going to pay $5,000 right now. It's going to move up to $6,000 soon. And then I have a kind of jump start right now that I charge for 3 weeks. It's $1,000, but it helps people get launched. But that's not the same as coaching, but you actually still get me twice a week for an hour and a half each. So you still get me for those 3 weeks. You get me for 3 hours if you want, with some other people, of course. So that lines up. Those are my 3 coaching programs. Okay. That's what I've got going on right now. Each one of them is, I'm going to be raising soon because we're having a ton of success with it. But also I find that the more people put into it, the more they tend to actually follow through. So that's been my experience. I'm good at what I do. Bob and them thought I was. That's why they reached out to me, because I'd used their stuff and had success. And they said, would you please teach and train on it also? I may or may not be the right person for you. I don't know. You'll know intuitively. You'll feel. You'll be like, this Kevin guy is all right. I think this is the person that can help me through this, or you won't. It's really that simple. And if you want to be coached like that or go even through the entry training, don't let money get in the way of you doing it. Very few people just have a bunch of cash sitting in the bank waiting for somebody to make a coaching offer, right? It has to be a decision that I'm going to do it. And then God in the universe will help supply the way for the money to show up. But it's totally worth it. I know you're saying, oh, it's self-serving. I'm saying, just from my experience, if I wasn't a coach, I actually still get coached by other coaches. We actually interact with each other and have a mastermind. We've all been trained in the same way or very similar, and we coach each other. And sometimes we pay for additional coaching too. I still do that. But what I do is I recognize that even though I'm good at this and I help people, I have a coach, because when you're in the middle of your stuff and your paradigm and your subconscious is screwing around with you, it's nice for me to have somebody to point out my blind spots. So that just gets me through it so much faster than wallowing in it and getting stuck. Nothing feels worse than wanting to get somewhere and feeling like you've got cement shoes on. That's just not the feeling we want. Like, no, let's get me out of the cement shoes. Matter of fact, let's take an airplane instead of trying to, run across the continent. And that's there you go. You can learn how to do the law of attraction for all the books and everything. If you want to walk from California to New York, you can do it. Every human being that's physically able, it might, but how long is it going to take you to walk from California to New York when you could actually get on a plane and go from California to New York? That's what coaching will do for you. Either way, you are going to have to go from California to New York in the change. So are you going to walk the change, or are you going to fly the change? Because there's not really a middle option of driving the change. You'll end up, if you try it on your own, you'll walk it. You get help from somebody that guides you through it. You get to fly in the plane. One's going to get you there a whole lot faster. Okay, any final questions or comments for today? And by the way, I might as well bring it up too. In the group coaching, if necessary, there's also a way to come up with a payment plan. But most of the time, we figure out a way to not have to do that. If so, it costs you a little bit more. You put a certain amount down and then you pay a certain amount, which is okay too. Some people do it that way. Maybe 10% of the people I coach do it that way, and 90% they just pay for it somehow.
Kevin, I have a question on visualization, like morning and night.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, do you have any tips and tricks on it? Is it like, obviously I know I could do like a picture of what I want in life, but say, what if I want, obviously I want a bunch of things, but what if I want to just put my focus on a car right now? And then later on, I say like, I have a class coming up and I want to focus on that. Can I put the car one on hold and then come back to it after the class is done or something like that?
Gotcha. So when I talk about the lifestyle, that's what, here's another thing I've learned, which I didn't fully understand this even when I've been doing pretty well. It's become even more recent where it's just like, oh, duh. For me, oh, duh, not for you, oh, duh. Okay. But for somebody who's been doing this for a while, right? Here's what you want to stay on: the big picture of the life that you want for your main focus in meditation. Okay. Because what you focus on is what expands. What you focus on and give energy to is what God in the universe determined you want. And eventually, through spaced repetition, doing it over and over and over again, your subconscious mind will start saying, okay, she's not giving up on this deal. That must be what is supposed to be normal for her. And once it accepts something is normal for you, it brings it to you. Okay. So if you're focusing, you can focus on a car and get a car, and then focus on this and get this, and focus on this and get this. When you're focusing on well, I want a car. Oh, but this thing just showed up that I want now, or not even I want, right? I mean, you may want it, but you're like, I need right now. Like, I just received a phone call, and in the next 60 days, I've got to come up with X amount of money to pay for such and such. And that wasn't really in my plan. So now I'm going to focus on that. Well, now you're dissipating the energy from what you wanted and you're focusing over here. I didn't fully, yes, you have things you have to do throughout your life that will pop up and that will have actual written deadlines that you're supposed to meet. But what I've come to understand in this process is if you stay focused on what you fully want, the small stuff will get sucked up into it anyway. So if I were to get a bill, if I were to get a bill today unexpected for $10,000 and I had 1 month to pay it, or 2 weeks to pay it, or 3 months to pay it, or whatever, I wouldn't spend a bunch of time thinking about how to pay it and come up with a plan. I would thank God that it's paid for on time. And I wouldn't be, thank you, thank you for helping me. You know as well as I do, it needs to be paid. I'm so grateful, happy and grateful that God helped me pay this on time. And not only am I happy, but the person who received the money, they're happy, like everybody's happy in this situation. Boom, put that aside and go back to my big vision. Now, it may take, let's say I only had 2 weeks to come up with 10 grand. I may not come up with 10 grand until day 13 or 14. And I got to be okay with that. I used to not, because then what I do is, okay, I'm coming too close to my deadline. So I'm going to come out of what I really want. And I'm going to, for the next week, focus on figuring out how to get this done. Because I only got 5 more days, 3 more days, 2 more days, 1 more day. Well, I let my bigger things dissipate and dissipate. When we go through the laws, you're going to see perpetual transmutation is a huge one that you're going to want to pay attention to as we go through these laws of how you actually turn something into reality. Well, I was dissipating my big stuff because I would go out there, that's what I want, but my focus wasn't what I wanted. I would be focusing on something that didn't matter as much, or it was just short term that I had to take care of. So if you really want the car, but something pops up, right? Instead, focus on the life you want. Thank God that you can afford to take care of what pops up, that God's going to provide it, but don't spend your energy trying to figure out how to do it. Trust that intuitively as you get closer and as you just stay feeling good about what you really want, that God will actually give you the answer to take care of this and get this out of your way. That one's a strong one, even as people actually have some success with this, that they start, that one's more challenging because you're looking at your 5 senses and somebody's giving you a deadline and a dollar amount, or you must sign up for this by this date or you don't get to do it, or whatever it is. And I'm saying that you need to learn to ignore your 5 senses, the input from your 5 senses, and you need to live as much as possible in what we call the 4th dimension, the inner you, living the life you really want to live as if it already is, and feeling the same gratitude and joy that you would feel if you were doing it today, as if you were doing it today, versus you don't live it in the future, you live it in the now. So you got to live life, but you shut off your 5 senses, the best you can, and only focus on what it is that you want. Because this, again, the thing you're giving the energy to, all of the things that are related, if you're wanting a lifestyle that gives you more money and wealth, time, freedom, whatever, the smaller things will get handled as you do it. But if you keep stopping to pick a smaller thing to focus on because you're concerned that if you don't focus on it, it's not going to get taken care of, that is the normal way to think about things. That's how the world wants us to think about things. That's what mom and dad tell us we ought to be doing. Hey, don't be an idiot. You should pay attention to that. Well, I'm not being an idiot. I know how the laws work. And I'm okay now. It's not my favorite thing, but if it has to show up in 2 weeks, and for me, it shows up on day 14, I don't stress for 14 days on the way to day 14. I don't stress on day 13 or 12 as I get closer. I used to. And that's what would suck me out of what I really wanted. Instead, I stay what I really want, trusting that this thing will take care of itself, that the right help will happen, the right amount of money will show up. I'll get a quick idea to do something or make a call, or the deadline will be extended, or the thing will go away altogether, if it's something like that. Does that help?
Yes, that's so helpful. I'm going to practice that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anybody else before we go for today? All right. Well, thank you for showing up. It would be awfully boring talking only to myself. So I'm glad that you're all here, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, thank you.
You're all very welcome.